This is Hard Parking, sponsored by Right Honda and Right Toyota out of Scottsdale, Arizona. Of course, you know I'm your host, Jhae Finning, recording from my home studio in Gilbert, Arizona. If this is your first time listening to the show, welcome to Hard Parking. I always ask people who listen to it for the first time, give it a few episodes because it's not episodic in the sense that one episode doesn't continue to the next. And I kind of bounce around on things that I decide I want to talk about. It is my show. It is the non-automotive automotive podcast. Coming up on today's show, I recently went to the West Side to visit with my friend Drew Bunkley. You've heard his name on every episode because he is one of the Patreons, but he's also been in studio here. He also runs a rental car company where he rents out exotic cars and other cars for people coming in from out of town or local people who just want to have something cool to drive around for a while. But I've been talking about getting out there, and I finally did. As some of you should know, I'm a really big college football fan. I'm a big Texas Longhorns fan, grew up in Texas. The funny thing is, Florida State, which got left out, which is the big part of the controversy of the 14 playoffs, they've always been my favorite team until maybe the last 10, 12 years. And it doesn't really make any sense because I'm not from Florida. But I'm a football player follower, and I grew up loving Deion Sanders and Randall Cunningham and a bunch of other players. And so a lot of my favorite players played in Florida, played for Florida State. Some played for Miami. So I always watched Florida State, Miami every year. But college football was never my favorite sport. It was always NFL and other things, NBA, Michael Jordan, whatnot. But when I moved to Michigan, lived in West Michigan, and there are no professional teams there. There's the Grand Rapids Griffins, which is the feeder league for the Detroit Red Wings hockey. There was the Rampage, Grand Rapids Rampage, which used to be an arena team. They went away for a while. I don't know anything about arena football now, but that was it in Grand Rapids. Oh, and there's also the West Michigan Whitecaps, which were baseball. A lot of my friends big into college football. I never really got that much into it. One day I was sitting in my game room and there was a game on TV, and I don't remember who it was, Tennessee and somebody, and they went to 6 or 7 overtimes, and it was pretty exciting to watch. And I really started paying more attention to college football. Of course, I was homesick. And so everything Texas mattered to me. I actually started liking the Cowboys just a little bit for football, just because they reminded me of home. I'm kind of the same way with Detroit now, the Detroit Lions. But, you know, getting into college football and watching Florida State, and then that's right around when Texas started getting really good again. That's when Vince Young and Cedric Benson went to the Rose Bowl, and they played Michigan. Of course, the next year they would go to the Rose Bowl and play USC and win. But from that point, I became a big Texas Longhorns fan. The Colt McCoy era, them going to the 2009 national championship game against Alabama. Colt McCoy getting knocked out of that game on Texas' first drive. That was Alabama's first championship under Nick Saban, first of many. So I've been a big college football fan for a while. I think the committee putting Texas in as third was great. It was awesome. I didn't expect it. But I think overall the committee got it right. And a lot of people are pissed off about Florida State not being one of the 4, especially because they were undefeated. They played who was on their schedule. They beat everyone on their schedule, but they weren't very dominant. They had a weak schedule. There's 5 power conference teams. There's only 4 playoff spots, which tells you that at some point this was bound to happen. Next year it won't be. Next year it's not going to be an issue because there's 12 teams next year in the playoffs. I've always hated the fact that the SEC gets all the love and the Big 12 gets crapped on and the ACC gets crapped on and all that kind of stuff. Of course, it doesn't matter next year because Texas and Oklahoma are going to go to the SEC. But Florida State is playing like shit right now. And it's not their fault. Their star quarterback, Jordan Travis, is out, and their second-string quarterback was in concussion protocols, and their third-string quarterback looked like absolute garbage against a Louisville team that got beat by Kentucky and isn't very good. And if you look at it, don't worry. For those of you non-sports fans, hopefully you're still tuning into this. But if you look at it, if Florida State were to be matched up against any of the 4 teams that they actually picked to go to the playoffs, so that's Michigan, Washington, Texas, Alabama, they would be double-digit dogs. No one would pick them to win. But here's the thing. Florida State actually would be playing Georgia. And Georgia won 29 times in a row, 2-time national champions, just lost to Alabama, and unfortunately went from the number 1 spot to the number 6 spot, which puts them 2 spots out of the playoffs. So Florida State has an opportunity to shut everybody up by taking care of business against Georgia. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm stoked. You guys know that Izzy's usually the last thing you hear on this podcast is my dog, Izzy, barking, and Izzy's been gone now for over a year. But every year, the Texas-Oklahoma game, we both put on our Texas jerseys, and I still have his jersey in the corner of my office up on a little Izzy shrine. So I pretend that the Longhorns did this for him. So I ask that everybody listening to this, unless you're a diehard fan of Michigan, Washington, or Alabama, that you go for Texas. Just go for Texas. At some point, if Texas wins and if Michigan somehow beats Alabama, it's going to be Michigan versus Texas. And that'll be really interesting. Had something happen the other day for the first time. So you guys know that I'm a grandfather. Zeke is 5. Nova just turned 1. Her birthday is one of these days, but we just had a party for her on Saturday here at the house. And because we had that party, which was originally canceled, so I registered for Elite Tuner, which would have taken all day on Saturday, but it's a car show. I couldn't go to Elite Tuner. Well, I had the opportunity to go to Elite Tuner, but I decided I couldn't because my granddaughter's turning 1 and I should be there, especially because it's at my house unexpectedly at the last minute. But the other day I was sitting on the couch. Yvette, my wife, was sitting on the couch and she had Nova. Nova's my granddaughter. And Nova's always liked me. She can't really talk yet still. She just babbles. But she's always kind of gravitated. Every time I would come in the room and she'd look at me and her eyes would get big and her legs would start shaking. She's a leg kicker. But that's just her way of showing excitement. And, I don't spend a lot of time with her. I mean, she's 1. Just turned 1. And I have the belief that kids need human interaction, human touching. They need to be cared for, all that kind of stuff. But it doesn't really matter as long as someone's around for the first couple of years of a child's life, as long as they're getting everything they need. They don't really care who you are as long as you provide. So anyway, Yvette's sitting kind of next to me. We have a sectional sofa. I'm on one section and she's on the other, a few feet away. And she's trying to put Nova to sleep and Nova's all ornery. And then this weird magical thing happened. Nova reached for me and peeled herself off of Yvette. Yvette's like, here, Nova wants you. I'm like, what? Okay. So she crawls over to me. She crawls up onto my lap and gets into my arms. And I'm just kind of like, okay, do I put her up on my shoulder? Well, not shoulder, but you have to hold a baby kind of high or low, whatever you're trying to do to put him to sleep. But she was still kind of ornery. And I was like, I think I've been doing this thing with her for months where I take my finger and I slowly move in and then I touch the tip of her nose. I go, boop, like that. And sometimes she opens her mouth to try to swallow my finger, which tells me she's hungry or she wants her pacifier or she wants something. So I did this to her the other day and she opens her mouth and she keeps following my finger around with her mouth open. I'm like, all right, she's obviously looking for a pacifier or something. So we find a pacifier. I hand it to her because she's at the age where she can grab it and do what she wants with it. So she grabs it, stuffs it in her mouth, like rams this pacifier in her mouth. And as soon as she does that, she takes her head and she slams it against my chest. 15 seconds later, she's knocked out. Something like that has never happened to me before. I've never had a baby that wants to just crawl over and sleep on me. I don't consider myself to be a very comfortable person. My wife can almost never fall asleep on my shoulder or watch a TV or just laying in bed or whatever else. The kids never did. Now, granted, I didn't get around them when they were small. I think Marcelo was 7 and then Jaylene was like 5. Even Zeke, my grandson, when he was a baby, I don't remember him ever really falling asleep on me. It was like, hey, he's tired, take him, type of deal. That happened before we knew that we're going to have the birthday party at the house. And that played a big part in why I decided I'm going to miss this car show that I had registered for and spent $50 to register for. If I would have made a big stink out of it, I could have got my money back because I literally just registered last week. But I said, sure, I'm just going to be here. Nova's never going to know. I didn't take any photos with her. None of us really did. But the entire family came over, and Mario, which is her dad, his family came over, and I just watched college football all day. And sometimes I was sitting there thinking, I could have been at this show, came back in time for the cake and all that kind of stuff. But I didn't. But that's the first time that I can remember shuffling things that I already had scheduled. Sometimes I can't skip whatever it is I got going on. And my daughter has a very bad habit of thinking the world revolves around her. And I know that sounds funny to say and it's very cliche, but there's times where she'll stop by the house and say, where's my mother? I'm like, well, she went to work today. And then she gets mad at my wife for not sitting around at the house or being here when she comes over here. It's like, we don't stop what we're doing around here for her. And my son kind of has that attitude too sometimes, but he's like half joking. And she's probably joking a little bit too, but it's said enough times where the expectation of us just sitting around waiting for them to plan their lives before we can plan ours gets to be annoying. So, and even with all of that, I usually don't change my plans if I already have plans. So when my wife asked me, hey, what time's your car show over tomorrow? I go, I'm not going. And it wasn't, oh, really? Oh, is it because of Nova's birthday? It was just, oh, okay. Because my wife doesn't care. Her radar for things that I'm into isn't there. And those of you who know me understand that. Those of you who were Patreons, you get to hear those episodes where I used to complain about stuff like that, which I don't really do that anymore. Number one, because I realize that my wife has access to the Patreon. But two, it's just, I want to give you guys better content and quality. Let's get into some car news, shall we? According to this article on electric.co, electric with a T-R-E-K, not I-C, but E-K, like Star Trekky, live long and prosper. This story comes from Michelle Lewis. Michigan installs the U.S.'s first wireless EV charging public roadway. The first charging public roadway has been installed in Detroit's Corktown neighborhood by the city, the Michigan Department of Transportation, and Electreon. The pilot is on a quarter mile of stretch on 14th Street in Detroit's historic Corktown. It runs alongside the new lab at Michigan's Central Building, home to more than 60 tech and mobility startups, where the wireless charging tech will be further tested and developed beginning in early 2024. Wireless charger provider Electreon placed inductive charging copper coils that were installed below the road's surface. The coils will charge EVs equipped with Electreon receivers as they drive over the road. The road's charging segments transfer electricity wireless through a magnetic field, which is then transferred as energy to the vehicle's battery, charging it. Detroit's wireless charging roadway is a pilot that will test and aim to perfect the wireless charging technology in a real-world environment. Researchers are using a Ford e-Transit equipped with an Electreon receiver. The plan is to open it up to the public in the next few years. MDOT and Electreon have entered into a 5-year commitment to develop and pilot the electric road system on Michigan roads. So this is the type of technology that's going to have to happen in order for this electrification to actually take place. So this whole 2035 deadline, it's only going to work if these roadways are able to charge vehicles as they drive, because if you have to rely on charging stations, even if they're quick swap out batteries, can you imagine the type of manpower, the labor, and then what are you going to do with all the batteries? Are they all going to be rechargeable? We'll see what the future holds, but this is pretty exciting if you're pro-electrification. Jhae Finning here, and I want to tell you guys about 4 Wheel Online. For over a decade, 4 Wheel Online has been bringing the best truck accessories and truck parts to enhance the appearance and performance of all trucks and SUVs. They are dedicated to providing an extensive range of upgrades that will match any make or model on the road. The truck products cover everything you need to give your truck a custom look and added functionality. And if you need a tire and wheel package, head over and use the configuration tool. They carry all the major brands of wheels and tires, so go get outfitted today. So visit them online at 4Wheel Online or call them at 813-769-2451. Again, that's 4Wheel Online, the number 4 Wheel Online. Out here at the Westgate area over by where the Cardinals play with Drew Bunkley and all his exotic cars. He rents these things out with his business. And I said I'd be out here probably months ago, and I'm just not getting here. Drew, glad to be in your shop.
Jay, thanks for coming. I appreciate you coming out here. Definitely.
So we're in the podcast studio, and you've talked about this before. People can come out here if they don't have a place to rent a studio space. They don't have to pay money on the equipment. I'm looking around this room. You have lights. We're on 2 of the 4 nice microphones, sound deadening on the wall. Got a setup in the corner for the guy who actually runs it. And so if people don't have access to this stuff, they can come out here and rent the space.
Yeah, so we've got it available for rent to help people out. They can record. We can do the editing for them. They can take their own, raw material and do their own thing. But the nice thing is we offer a full service, so people can come get started. They don't have to buy all the equipment if they want to just dibble and see if it's something that works for them. So we've got a few clients that come out here on a regular basis.
And the equipment isn't cheap anyway, but let's talk about your cars.
Let's do it.
So you do that. So you have the Lamborghinis, you have the Ferraris. You've been doing this for a while. You're going to keep doing it. Got a few things on the horizon, I think, to kind of switch up the company a little bit, but it's still going to be the same. Let me ask you this. Do you ever get attached to these cars?
Good question. I don't. Yeah, I don't have any attachment to them. I've sold my Z06. I've got the E-Ray coming, but I'm probably selling that, obviously. But yeah, no, I don't have any attachment with them. I love the cars. I love being able to just drive different stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's, to me, is something that people dream about. So it's funny. I know we've talked about it on previous shows, but I've really never owned a car over 1 year.
Yeah, and it sounds crazy for those of us who just love cars and dream about cars forever, but you're from that world. Like, your entire world as a little boy, it's been cars, car dealerships, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, my dad was a car dealer. So growing up, we moved here to the Valley in '88. My dad was a car dealer, new car franchise. So I grew up in the car business. 33 years, sales and management and ownership. So it's, I guess it's just like if you work at a restaurant, you know what I mean? Or whatever your field is. Sometimes you love what you do, but you're around it so much that it's not as important to you as it may be to the next
someone
person.
else who wants that.
Right.
This has been here for a year?
So we'll be 2 years in
2 years.
2 years in May.
2 years in May. So you started just after the pandemic era. It's the first time I've actually referred to that in probably 6 or 7 episodes. So I'm feeling pretty proud of myself right now. But how has it been? I mean, there's ebbs and flows, but it seems like your cars are almost always rented out.
So summer was really hard this year. The extreme heat that we've had. But for the most part, if we look past the summer, it's been pretty successful. The biggest thing with the rentals is your overhead. Obviously, you've got car payments and those sort of things. So that's one of the main reasons why we're doing a kind of rebranding switch to our management system. So, we've got that on track and on focus, but for the most part, the cars stay out. They usually go out on Thursdays. They're usually back when Monday. I do a lot of free airport deliveries and drop-offs. And then the exotics are starting to become more of a long-term type rentals. We have people that want to rent the vehicles for a week, a month. So it makes it a lot easier for me because I don't have to worry about trying to get that car in and out every weekend. And the longer you're obviously known and you're in business, the more I get a lot more referrals now, and I have a lot more clients that want me to help them with their vehicles.
Sounds like it'd be a lot of fun, but it sounds like it'd also be a lot of work as far as planning vacations and having to be there to drop stuff off. I mean, do you have people that can assist you with that?
Yeah, so I've got one full-time employee, and then I've got 2 other guys that we do a lot of social media work with.
Mm-hmm.
So they run the actual podcast room, but they help me delivering cars. And when I do take vacation, so, I'll be gone next week for a few days. We're doing the bourbon run down in Kentucky.
Oh, really?
So,
you don't say.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so yeah, we're going to have to stay in contact. I'm actually going out of town next week too. One of my dear friends is retiring from the Army. It's one of those deals where he hits me up and he tells me, what's your email address? We're going to broadcast my retirement. And I go, dude, when is it? It's got to be coming up. He goes, well, I don't want my family and friends to spend any money on me. And it's like, bro, come on. He was one of the best men at my wedding.
Nice.
Of course I'm going to go out there. So I'll be there while you're doing the bourbon trail, but man, there's probably some bourbon exclusives.
Yeah, we're hoping to get some nice stuff. So, we're bringing an empty suitcase.
Empty suitcase and plenty of packing. Yeah, we're definitely going to have to talk about that a little bit. So what are some of the challenges that you've had? You've had a lot of stuff going on in your life. You recently lost your father.
Mm-hmm.
What's one thing that kind of sticks with you through that? Because, you guys look like twins when you're posting those pictures.
Yeah. That was hard. My dad, they call him Bunk, and I was always, whenever I was around, because he lived in Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was definitely, everybody that knew him, they saw me, they saw him. But it was hard. That was right when, that's the reason why I had to sell the C8 too.
Yeah.
I had a lot of stuff going on. Business wasn't going great because it was summertime, so things were slow. I decided to go ahead and sell the C8, and then I had to sell it quick. I sold it for less than I wanted to sell it for because I had the emergency. It was time to go.
Right. And be clear, that's the Z06.
The Z06.
Yeah.
So yeah. But, I still got over MSRP for it. So,
There
it
you go.
wasn't quite what I wanted. But besides that, yeah, dealing with family. So my mom and dad, I'm a single child. And
Okay.
yeah, so then my mom remarried and I've got 2 siblings. So really growing up, I spent time between mom and dad. So it was hard, but I, my outlook on things, I knew things were, I deal with death probably differently than a lot of other people.
We all deal in different ways. That's what they say, man.
And a lot of things I'm able to be okay with because I just know the way I feel the world is. You know what I mean? We all deal with death. So yeah, for me, it was a hard loss, but I was able to deal with it and just keep his memory alive.
We don't get forever in this world. My cousin told me that when my father had passed, and it's so true. Accepting it, we don't get forever. We don't get forever. We both lost pets recently.
That's the hard thing too, because I've always had this thing with triples, with 3 things. And I don't know what happened in life, but I lost 2 pets that were a few months apart. And somewhere in the back of my head, I'm like, there's one more death coming.
Something's dropping. Yeah.
And, it happened to be my father. And but I look at those things. I really see those things in life. And when I get those things that happen to me, I expect one more. You know what I mean? It's a weird situation, but it's always been that way for me.
I was listening to an interview with someone, and they were saying that a super famous person's got all the success everywhere they go. And I think he had said back in 2002, maybe he lost his mother, and he still to this day hasn't dealt with it. He always tells himself, he was telling the person that was interviewing him, that he just tells himself that she went on a trip and she'll be back. And he said he just refuses. God, that was 20 years ago, So yeah, we all deal with that stuff differently. Not to turn dark or anything, but that's something I just wanted to ask you about because, it's a part of life. Tony Stark famously said, part of the journey is the end. But so what do you have planned for this company? What do you have planned? Again, we opened up and said, we're in this room that people can rent out. You have another space for photos. Like as soon as you walk in, what are you going to do with that space? And then do you want to eventually expand to a giant fleet? I'm hitting you with a bunch of questions here. And then also, how stiff is the competition around here?
So we got a lot of ideas. Sometimes too many ideas is not good.
Right. That's true. Huh?
So I try to put in perspective, what can we accomplish in a short period of time? We are setting up, we already have it running as our social media marketing company. So that's with your media guy and Dakota. He runs that. We use the facility for photo shoots. He's a professional photographer. And we actually met because of the Corvette. He was one of the first photographers that reached out to me when I had my first. He's been with you since. Yeah. We've been together since then. So he does all that. We do have the drop downs and the screens. We have the green screen. So we go out to clients, to businesses to help them run their social media, do their filming for them. So that was something that I really, just being involved in the social media field was something that I wanted to expand on. So I wanted to offer this room. I wanted to do my own podcast, but sometimes I get a little bit lazy and I hadn't decided to start yet. So, but the room's here if I decide. Isn't that crazy? I got this room and I don't even use it for myself, but it's time management.
It's a grind, dude, on top of that. And it's not like you don't have anything else to do. But I think it's smart, too, because those are, sure, they're all underneath one roof, but they're technically different streams to the same bucket.
Right. Yep. And so with the rental cars, I'm finding pretty good success. This area doesn't have a ton of rental car companies, and especially exotic or luxury. They're all in Scottsdale. But the most important thing for me to do is marketing. So with the airport facilities, social media, and those sort of things. So it's been working out well. And we're taking on new clients. So what we've done is we've kind of geared more towards a management fleet versus like me owning my own rental fleet.
Right.
So you have to realize if you've got, I got a Mercedes in there with a $800 car note, with car insurance, maintenance, service. So if that car costs me $1,000 to run a month, I got to make X amount of dollars to be profitable. The best thing with the management services, I charge a percentage of the rental fee, and I just maintain the car for the client, make sure the car's clean. I pretty much handle the car like it's my own, but I have no overhead. So that's kind of where I'm gearing towards. So right now we have, out of the 11 cars, I own 3, and the rest are part of the management fleet. And we've got 4 more coming on this weekend.
We're also getting into the end of the year, which means the beginning of next year. So we have Barrett Jackson right around the corner. We have waste management. Have you noticed a spike in the past couple of years during those times?
Oh yeah, definitely a spike. I mean, Thanksgiving everything was gone. You know what I mean? And right now things have slowed down. Bookings are coming in for this weekend. Expecting Christmas to be a little slow just because people are kind of staying home, close to home with family, unless they're obviously traveling. But it's not as much travel as we had prior to Thanksgiving and then when our weather dropped. So going into January, February, March, business will definitely pick back up. Those are probably the most profitable months in the rental business out here.
So earlier this episode, I talked a little bit about an article on electric.co, electric with a K, which I thought was kind of weird. But in Michigan, they installed the first wireless EV charging public roadway, and it's a quarter mile of road in Detroit's Corktown neighborhood. And it's a little charging device that's provided by Electreon, which is the company. But this little device hooks up to the charging coils. I would imagine it's almost like when you put a battery, like one of the rechargeable batteries into a camera and you see those little strips.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
But it looks like it's not specific to a car because the one they used was a little Ford van. So I can see a situation where maybe Tesla and somebody else that wants to continue down this march kind of all join together. But I mean, what are your thoughts on that? It's kind of crazy. Something like that has to happen if we're ever going to reach this date in 2035 that no one thinks we're going to, including myself.
Yeah, that's out the window right there as far as that goes. But there's, companies are trying to right now just have innovative ways to be able to charge your car as quick as possible. I mean, that's really the main thing that I think holds a lot of people back is the range anxiety or faster charging. They want convenience. We are a fast food nation.
Everything now.
Everything we want it now. If you go pump your gas, that's as long as you want to wait at a gas pump. We're so used to it. It's been instilled inside our minds and our brains, and the way we live is fast, 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 as quick as possible. So, when it comes to the charging, Tesla right now has a great infrastructure, and now they're starting to allow non-Tesla vehicles to be able to use their system. Tesla owners are upset, places in California where there's so many Teslas now, they have to share.
And then half the chargers don't work anyway.
So, I hate charging out from, home or the job.
With the Audi, right?
Well, we never charge out. My wife, she charges at home. Mm-hmm. So, but when I have my rentals and I have to maybe charge for a client that needs to pick up and I need a quick charge, then I've got to go out to a supercharging station, or I have to find an EV station for our other vehicles because we have a Kia EV6.
Oh, yeah?
And yeah, that's out front.
Oh, I was going to say that's out front.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like a maroon color.
Yep. So, and that has really fast charging, which is really nice, but they are offering the charging for that system through Electrify America, and they really suck. I mean, their systems are usually halfway. They're usually half down. If two people are charging at the same station, because they'll have 2 charging ports. The problem is you're now using half the charging that you can get out of it if you were solo. So, but the Kia charge is really super quick, but it's a pain in the butt, man, trying to find, I've got to direct clients when they rent these cars, how to find charging stations. I always ask them, is there charging at your hotel where you're staying? Because it can be inconvenient, especially if you don't know the procedure. You know what I mean? First time EV people can get a little confused. I've had some issues, but nothing major.
Well, when you say that, it's kind of funny because you can rent a car, a regular car, a gas car, and spend 30 seconds trying to find the button to open up the fuel thing.
Mm-hmm.
And how many times in your life do you remember needing gas and you pull up and the gas is cheaper and there's a line of cars outside the station. And how many times have you sat there versus just said, screw this, I'm going to the next gas station and getting gas. And that's just pumping gas.
Right.
So they're going to have to figure something out with this charging. And I think that they will eventually, but it's going to take something like this strip of land and this device that someone's going to make billions of dollars off of or mysteriously disappear off of in order for any of that to happen. What do you think of the Cybertruck? It sounds like they're getting ready to deliver it. Or do you plan on getting one?
I didn't pre-order a Cybertruck. It's one of those things. When I wanted to do it, it was only to flip.
Sure.
And now the market has just gone so crazy right now. It's to the point where I don't even know if I want to purchase any cars at this time because of interest rates and the market is down. So I'm not getting a Tesla from the gate, but if one's offered to me, it would have to be, something that I would just buy to resell.
I'm wondering how well they're going to be made. Now, there's videos of them, bulletproof, like who cares, right? But yeah. I guess I think I read online there's 3 different price structures and they were all surprisingly cheap.
Yeah. So we booked out one yesterday off of, I think, Tesla's website, about $100,000. But yeah, I'm scared of
which is more expensive than anything that I've seen online on one of these pages that I'm on. I think I saw 3 of them and maybe there were 50, 70, and 80 or something like that.
Right. So they'll have different levels of batteries, motors, depending on what kind of charge you want and for power. So just like they've got their Plaid, it's going to have more motors and stuff like that. So a lot of it's about range, towing. These trucks, you got to realize people that they're really not going to be used, I don't believe, for work because once you start towing, you lose your range. Obviously they'll tow a ton of stuff. They just did a video. Someone posted the Tesla truck pulling a Porsche 911, racing a 911 in a quarter mile, and it won. So it's definitely, they're really ramping up right now, but it's Tesla. We all know Tesla makes the fastest vehicles on the road.
Well, you were saying that there's a lot of people who aren't going to use it as a truck. And I'm sitting there thinking, how many pickup truck owners do we know out there that aren't using their trucks as trucks? They're almost like status, or I have a truck and you don't, and I'm sitting higher than you on the road, and that's about it. This thing is never going to see a gravel road, outside of, I'm never going rock climbing in this thing. But I'm curious about them. I've never really liked the way they look, but I don't hate it. I just think it's interesting and funny.
The thing about Tesla, too, you got to realize, just looking at the vehicle, imagine getting in an accident. Tesla right now, it's already hard to get service on cars. You got to take them to your Tesla service center. You look at a quarter panel. How much is that quarter panel going to cost? How long is it going to take to repair? How much? I think the quarter panel goes around
like a big piece.
Yeah, like a one solid piece. So there's a lot more things to look at besides, for me, and that's the quality, where the quality comes in also too. You'll see a lot of, Tesla is a technology company. They're not a auto manufacturer. You know what I mean?
We talked about
They're
that.
A tech company. They've got great tech. The battery's awesome, but they just don't have the unions and the factories, that are there that can actually put these cars together like a General Motors or Mercedes-Benz. They're not there yet. They'll need to partner with other companies to get better, but don't get me wrong, the cars are still great vehicles. It's just sometimes they're just not, their fit and finish is not up to par. Tell me what's going on with you.
Not too much. We just did our One Less Food Drive a few weeks ago. That's our annual event with One Auto. I think we're trying to plan a car cruise that we've done before in the past, where half of them are off-road vehicles, half of them are on-road vehicles. So it's 2 different routes to the same destination, which was a lot of fun when we have done that in the past. Other than that, there's some things coming up for the podcast. Thank you for your support. Always actually brought something for you. Every year I try to do the holiday gift for everybody who's given to me. And it's, I think I warned about it on the Patreon that it'll keep you warm, and I couldn't make the logo smaller.
Okay.
Yeah. So, sugar bears might love it more.
I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. But some exciting changes coming up for the podcast, I think. You've heard the new intro, and if you haven't heard it, it's sitting there for you to listen to, and that's going to be the new intro. starting in January,
Okay.
and staying busy with different projects.
Well, congratulations also on you're now the president of
Yes, and beginning in January, I am the president of the NSX Club of America.
Excellent. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's going to keep me busy. Not that I don't have anything to do.
I know you got some plans for the club and for next year. Are you guys going to be in Florida?
Dallas.
You're going to be in Dallas this year.
I'm going home. Yep, that's home for me originally. So,
right. Yep.
Thinking I'm definitely going to drive the car out there and probably leave it for like a week and then fly back and get it, or stay there an extra week and then drive back the following weekend or something. A lot of people I need to see that are out there. It's kind of this thing. It's weird because it's like when I took the first car out there in 2019, I guess that's all I talked about in school and after school. Because everyone's like, hey, did you ever get that car? You ever get that NSX? Did you ever get the NSX? So, of course, I drove it out there and had to show up like my best friends and people I grew up with, and everyone's tickled about it. And so I feel like I have to take the car out there again now that I have the next version of the car.
Definitely.
So it'll be exciting, man. But that's pretty much what I have on the horizon.
Yeah, it's funny. Like when we went to Georgia, obviously the last time we were there was for my dad's funeral, but everybody there was like, how's your Corvette? Did you bring the Corvette? Everybody thought I brought the Corvette. I'm like, no, we just flew out here. But, people that follow us, friends and family, they kind of see, they watch us and they see the certain things that we do. And, it's nice to be appreciated. Nice to be able to go home and, people can keep in touch with you based off social media. It's not all bad, You know where I'm at with that. People say they hate social media. They refuse to get on Facebook. They refuse to do this. I said, it is what you make it out to be. Right.
It's a tool. It's a great way to stay connected, get reconnected with people, or it's a place where you can lose your mind. It all depends on which path you want to take.
Yep. Yeah, I've started joining a few business groups and some mostly like on Facebook groups dealing with entrepreneurs and in the Phoenix Valley. That way, I'm able to, because what I offer, anybody can offer to someone. If you know somebody, hey, you like cars, you need a rental car or something, whatever the case might be. I have a business that can always be, shared with others. So I like to reach out to others too and find out, okay, well, what kind of business do you have that I can, help you with? So, networking and marketing right now is pretty key.
Well, with that being said, have a happy holidays. And, again, thank you for all your support. And I will catch you on the flip side.
Happy holidays. Appreciate it.
I want to thank Drew Bunkley for allowing me to come over there to his exotic rental car facility / studio. If you guys noticed, if you're still listening, there were a lot of microphone pops. You heard a lot of plosives in that interview. So I did not bring my microphones. I only brought my recorder, and they've got the whole thing set up, but each microphone works a little differently. And the microphones we used, we had a couple Shure microphones, and he also has a couple Zoom microphones. I don't remember which ones we used exactly, but that's where you get the pops when you say a P word, something with a P word. So when you say something with a P, you get kind of the poof of air that's in the microphone. And once that's in there, it's really difficult to remove when editing. And so you mitigate that by using pop filters or changing the direction or changing where the microphone is in relationship to your mouth when you're talking, so that when the wind comes out of your mouth, the poof of air comes out of your mouth, it doesn't go into the microphone. But he could probably use some pop filters, because I noticed that and I'm like, I hate, you guys know I'm an audiophile and I hate that kind of stuff. This week I'll be traveling to Tampa. So you'll have a rental car story on the next episode. One of my dearest friends is retiring from the Army. I think I may have said that on the last episode at the end. I don't remember, but we'll be around for One Drink Wednesday this week, but you should still jump on if Wes Tankersley decides to do One Drink Wednesday. There's certain things in life that you just have to try not to miss. Obviously, in the opening, I talked about my granddaughter's first birthday. And I've been really hardcore on that, where I've said that a child's first and second birthday, as far as throwing these giant parties, is a colossal waste of time and money. And it does not matter to the child. I know it's really there to create memories for the parents, but I still wanted to be there. But those are the kind of things. And if someone close to you is doing something like graduating from college, retiring from 20 years of service with the military, and it's a really big deal, advancing to a high rank in something in the military, try to be there. Those are the moments that everyone remembers, and you don't get those back. When it comes to things that you do on your daily grind, take a step away. Also, Fuel Fest is coming up this weekend, and the Wright Toyota Toy Drive. So that's what I'll be doing on the 9th and the 10th. So if you're listening to this and you're in the area, it'd be nice to see you at either one of those events, especially the Wright Toyota Toy Drive. Bring an unwrapped toy, hang out, help us assemble bikes, get some food, say what's up to Santa, all that song and dance. Want to thank Ray Honda and Wright Toyota, 4wheelonline.com, Sell Shop Wireless Services, Patreon business supporter, Kuya Automotive out of Warren Garden, Florida, Automotive Specialty Tool out of Owings Mills, Maryland, Bell Construction out of Connery, Michigan, Big House Small Home Design out of Ashburn, Virginia, and Traverse City, Michigan. Shaping Success with the West Tankersley out of Boise, Idaho. If you want to help the podcast upgrade, you've heard me mention this a few times. You can join the Patreon for as little as $3 a month and get access to bonus audio as well as show swag. Thanks to Mark Stolman, Catherine Cox, Eddie Ramos, Richard Graves, Byron Jones, Bo Jung, Oscar Bean, and Drew Bunkley, and Mr. Yasu out of Japan. Email the show, hardparkingpodcast@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram @jfinning and join the Hard Parking Violations Facebook group and the Hard Parking channel on my Instagram. I can't grow that. You're telling the world how great this show is. Let's do this. Let's grow this thing together, and I'll talk to you all next week.
Finally got around to trying that Arby's Wagyu burger. It was all right. I ain't like the little dressing shit they put on it.
Shut up!